Hi, my name is Sean Harrington. I'm here from Unta Coffee Roasters, and we're here to do some home roasting. We're talking about green coffee, basically taking it, putting it in this popper, and turning it into roasted coffee. Green coffee is the seed of the coffee tree. It is a process in which a person comes down, picks a coffee cherry. The coffee cherry is then processed. From the processing, it goes to a drying. From drying, it is packed up and then is exported, where coffee roasters all around the world take that green coffee and turn it into what we're familiar with, which is roasted coffee. The problem tends to be that a lot of our coffee that we get is old and stale, and there are real benefits to having fresh roasted coffee, whether it be from your local professional or if you decide to take on the challenge of home roasting. We found that these older model air popcorn poppers are very effective air roasters. The difference between the older poppers and the new popper are the structure of the interior. It's a flat bottom metal versus a mesh bottom. We find that these move the beans around a little better, less chance of any sort of fire hazard associated with the actual roasting process. Basically what happens is the green coffee, as it gets heated, it starts to lose moisture. From there, it expands in size. After that, we go through some browning, non-enzymatic browning, which is some Maillard reactions and some sugar caramelization. And then from there, we roll out into our finished temperature, which is determining our final flavor, whatever basically suits your taste. As we get set up to start our roasting process, we have a colander that I tend to like to put it in the freezer. It helps with cooling when it comes down to dumping the hot beans. We want to cool them very quickly. Our next step is we have this bowl that we use to collect chaff. So as the bean expands, it releases its last protective barrier, which is the chaff. And we like to, rather than make a mess, we use a bowl filled with a little bit of water or a wet rag underneath the roaster, or in this case, the popcorn popper. Just filled with a little bit of water, placed in the same place that you would if you were to be popping popcorn. So from there, we have our green coffee. So the green coffee that I ship is shipped in cotton or muslin bags for storage. This is an Ethiopian Yirgacheffe, so Ethiopian coffee from the Yirgacheffe region. We're going to want to measure out a little less than a half of a cup of this, which is a little light on the capacity for this total roaster, but it's a good start. So all we're going to do is dump We're going to take about a quarter of the beans that we have and dump them into the bottom of the roaster, and then replace our top and plug in the roaster. And so right now, basically what's happening is the air is generating enough energy to move the beans that we've added. We can take off our little butter dish and add the rest of the beans. And so they are very slowly moving right now, but they are moving, so they don't need any sort of agitation. But if they did, really just a slight shake could start to release, as you're seeing some of the silver skin that's coming off. Once we add the remaining portions of our beans, we want to hit start on our timer. Again, we're watching for our clues, the shaft's being released. So right now the bean's expanding. Listening for that first crack, our first benchmark to know that we're getting closer to being able to shut off the popper. So we're starting to hear the first snaps, which is considered the first crack. Really, we want to wait for more of a consistent snapping sound, which you're starting to hear now. That's really defining that these beans are going through their first major expansion. A great deal of moisture is being released. The beans are going through an exothermic phase right now where they're actually giving off heat rather than taking heat. And they're browning. So we'll look to be somewhere between 30 and 45 seconds after the end of the first crack, which is when you stop hearing the snaps. Okay, so we're about 45 seconds. The colander is now out of the freezer. It's chilly, but it's in good shape. So we want to just unplug our popper we take off our top and we're going to dump our roasted coffee. And we want to just kind of swirl it around. It's really just a matter of trying to cool the coffee as quickly as possible. So that's the benefit of having this cold colander versus just an air colander. There are other ways to do this, but I found this is the most effective means to cool the beans quickly. We like to use bell jars, glass, anything really that isn't plastic to store. The less headspace, the better. So what we do is we're just going to pour the coffee into the jar. And then we're just going to loosely set the lid on. Right now, what the coffee will do over the next 24 hours is will off-gas CO2, which if we do tighten the lid, it just builds pressure. So leave the lid loose, set it aside for 18 to 24 hours, and enjoy. You've got yourself some fresh roasted coffee. It's been just that simple. For as little as, say, $11, you could have yourself your first quarter pound ready to go.